Hello everyone, I am Dr. Kanak Kalita and I welcome you back to this session on the research article writing and referencing. So in the last session, we saw the importance of publication, the basic process that you follow in the writing process, pre-writing, drafting and revision, editing, publication. And we also saw the typical structure of the research article, where we saw that a typical research article contains sections like abstract, introduction, and then literature review, and then methodology, results and discussion, and then conclusion, after which you give the acknowledgements, and then comes the reference section. So I also told you about the IMRED principle, in which we must always follow the IMRED principle because it gives a logical flow of contents. So now, continuing further, we discussed about the sequence of the writing a research article. So generally for quantitative research, we should follow this approach where we should start with the methodology, then we should write about the results and discussion, then we should talk about the introduction, then the conclusion, abstract and the keywords, and then the title. Now, we'll study in detail each and every element of this particular writing process, and we'll see some tips and tricks as well as some rules that we should follow when we are trying to frame each of these individual components of the research paper. Okay. So the first comes the title. Okay. So whenever you are selecting a title, it should convey the main topics of the study and it should highlight the importance of the research. At the same time, it should be concise and it should be something that will attract the readers. Because if you see a statistics, it will tell you that title is the most read part of any research paper, obviously, because when suppose say a particular reader or a particular author or a particular researcher, he is trying to find out a relevant literature for his work. Okay, he will always search. For example, he will search in the Google Scholar. As soon as he searches in the Google Scholar, the first thing he will look at is the titles. Okay, and if he finds the title interesting, then he will read the abstract, and if he finds the abstract interesting, then he will download the entire paper and he will read the entire paper. So that is why your title should be something that should convey the main topics that the study is based on. Okay, it should cover all the ideas that the study is there in the study. Okay, and then the title, for example, I've listed here some examples of the title. Suppose say this is a title that I used in one of my research paper. For example, the first one, if you see the title, it says multi-objective optimization of EDM process by using a genetic programming technique in conjunction with NSGA3. So the first thing that you see here in this title is that this title is too long. Okay, this title has a lot of words, and at the same time I have concised some of the words. For example, EDM. EDM is again a 3-word. Okay, I've concised it into an acronym of EDM, as well as NSGA3. It is again a 4-word name. So I have already merged it into small form. Okay, or I have already used the acronym here to make the title a little shorter. For example, if you read it like this, that multi-objective optimization of electro discharge machining process by using a genetic programming technique in conjunction with non-sorting genetic algorithm 3. So it will be a very long name. So already I have made it a little less long by giving the acronym. Okay, again, the problem with this acronym is that EDM, the acronym EDM, is fairly known to all the people who are from the mechanical background. But again, if suppose say the target of my particular paper is mechanical people, okay, if the target audience of this particular paper is mechanical, then I can be assured that most of them people will know what is the full form of EDM, and they will be knowing that EDM here means electro discharge machining. But if they are mechanical engineers, or if they are the researchers from mechanical engineering background, then they will probably not know. Many of them will probably not know what is the full form of NSGA, because it is a technology or it is a method that I have borrowed from the computer science domain, or mainly from the soft computing domain. Okay, non-sorting genetic algorithm 3. Now, since this is something that is not core to the domain, or this is not something that domain people, my peers in the domain will not know about. So it's better not to use this as an acronym, NSGA 3, not to use it as an acronym. And if I want to use it in the title, I should give the full form. Okay, I should give the full form. That is what we can do. Now another way of doing this, if I follow this rule of be concise, then what I can do is that instead of this title I can use this title, multi-objective optimization of EDM process. Okay, this title is again very concise. It is only a 5-letter or a 5-word title, but at the same time it is missing out some important facts about the title or the paper. And at the same time there is high probability that the name that I have suggested here, multi-objective optimization of EDM process, that would be, these 5 letters would be common in a number of research papers. This particular 5 letters or this particular 5 letters would be common in almost any literature. If you go and Google search it, you will find that there will be so many different manuscripts where the title is somewhat similar. These 5 words will be in their title. So to avoid the confusion when we are trying to find in the Google Scholar, okay, when you are trying to find in the Google Scholar, so if this if I publish this article by only this particular name, so when I am trying to search it in Google Scholar or any other researcher is trying to find this in Google Scholar, this will be shown. At the same time, so many other papers which have similar name to this will be shown in the Google Scholar. Okay, I want the name to be a little unique so that when anyone searches by using this particular name in the Google Scholar, only only this particular paper shows up in the Google Scholar. That is what I want. Okay, so that is why I have converted, I have used all these rules that I've listed here, and I have made the title as this: an intelligent predictive model based multi-response optimization of EDM process. So see here, what I have done is that I have removed the NSGA 3. Okay, so why I have removed the NSGA 3? Because it is my target is again mechanical engineering background researchers, and I want that maybe all of them will not be aware of, most of them will be, maybe a section of the my domain people may be aware of this, but majority of them will be not be aware about NSGA 3. So that is why I removed this particular word or this keyword from the from my title, so that it can appeal to a broader audience within my domain. Okay, so if you see the name, it suggests that I am doing something called the predictive modeling. At the same time, I am doing something called the multi-response optimization, and I am following for the EDM process. Okay, so like this, you have to constitute a title which should be concise, which should convey the main topics that we have done in this study. At the same time, it should attract the readers. Okay. Now, what is the tip for this title is that whenever you are trying to fix a title, don't try to write the title in one go. Okay, try to write 4 or 5 titles. Okay, what do you think would be the titles? For example, if suppose say there are multiple collaborators, suppose say 4 people are working on the same paper, then ask all of your co-authors to come up with a title. Okay, asked all of them to come up with a title, and then look at all the 4 titles or the 5 titles that you have written down, and see that which of them is best or which of them is probably apt for the entire paper. And the title, selecting the title is done, or selecting the title for the manuscript is done as the last step of the entire manuscript. When you have finished the entire manuscript, when you know that this and this I am presenting in this particular paper, this and this method I have used, and this results is there, this and this interpretation is there, after that you can go and select the title. Okay, so you need some time to spend some time on the title to select a good title so that it can attract the readers. Okay. Next is, when you are trying to write the abstract, what is basically an abstract? The abstract is a summary of the content of the entire manuscript, and it gives a time-saving shortcut for busy researchers, and it is a guide for the most important part or the most important parts in your entire manuscript, and it should be able to stand alone. This is the most important property of any abstract. Okay, it should be able to stand alone. What is the meaning of it should be able to stand alone? It means that, as I told, whenever a person or a researcher is searching for literature that he wants to read so that he can improve his own research, the first thing that he will do is that he will read the title. If he likes the title, or if he thinks that the title matches his work, then he is going to read the abstract. So the abstract should be such that, because generally the abstract is 200 to 250 word paragraph. Okay, so the abstract should be such that it should cover all the topics or all the central ideas that you have developed in the particular manuscript or in your particular research paper, so that anyone who reads the abstract can get a gist of the all the work that you have done in the manuscript. So that is why it should be able to stand alone, okay, so that anyone who reads this abstract can able to know about the entire paper by reading the abstract itself. Now, how to write this abstract? Okay, when you are trying to write the abstract, just try to answer these following questions: what was done? Okay, how did you do it, and what did you find, and why these findings are useful and important. If you answer these 4 questions, you have a good abstract. Okay, if your abstract is able to answer all these 4 questions, then you have a very good abstract. Okay, so once if you are an early career researcher and if you do not have uh, uh, experience in writing so many papers, so the next time when you try to write a manuscript and when you are trying to write the abstract, just do this. Just take these 4 questions in front of you and try to answer them one by one. Okay. For example, what was done? Try to write 1 or 2 lines on what was done. And next is why did you do it? Okay. Try to answer that. That why you are following this and why the study that you are doing, it is important and all that. Try to answer those questions. The next question could be, what did you find? What are your results? What are your most important results? You can write two line to 3 line about this. Okay, so and the next is that why these findings are useful and why these are important. So write another 1 or 2 lines with proper conclusion about this particular question. Okay, once you answer these 4 questions, even if you say that you write 2 lines for the first question, 2 lines for the second question, 3 lines for the third question, and then 2 lines for the last question. So now you have total 9 lines. Okay, so 9 lines means if you say that roughly each of the line contains, suppose say 15 words. Okay, or each of the lines contain 50 words, 15 words, then you have roughly somewhere around 9 into 15, you have around something around uh, 145 sorry 135 words. Okay, so generally the limit for the abstract is 200 words. Okay, so you have already written around 135 words. Okay? And then you use the remaining sentences that is available to you. 200 minus, generally the limit is 200 words. So if you say that 200 minus 135, another 65 words are remaining. So use this particular 65 words, or not necessarily it has always to be 200. It can be up to 150 also. It can be up to 180 also. So use the remaining lines to act as fillers. For example, give a starting line. Okay, so that starting line, the starting line is not included here. So give a starting line that why what you have done, or a opening introduction kind of line for your entire manuscript. Okay, that you write down. And whenever you have answered all these 4 questions, and when you are trying to present it in form of a coherent paragraph, means a paragraph where there is a consistency of flow of information, at the time you will find that if you directly answer these questions, you will find that there is a jump in the idea. For example, what you have done and why did you do it. Okay, there may not be that coherency. To maintain that coherency, add another filler line. Okay, where you connect the previous question with the next question and so on. So like this, you can use your 200 to 250 words that you write in the abstract. Okay, so generally the tip is that journals often set a maximum word count for abstract. It is often 200 to 250, and there should be no citations. Okay, that you have to be very careful. Generally, in the research articles, in the abstract of the research articles, we do not give any citations. They may be given in the letter to the editor, or in the commentary, or in the opinion piece, but in the research articles, generally there is no, or in fact in the research article as well as in the review articles, there is no citation in the abstract. Okay, that you have to be very clear about. Okay, so the next is setting the keywords. So keywords are a tool to help the indexes and the search engine find the relevant papers. If database search engines can find your journal, readers will also be able to find it. They will increase the number of people reading your manuscript and likely lead to more citation. So what is basically keywords? Generally, if you see most of the journals, they set a keyword count of 6. Okay, so you need to use them very judiciously. What I mean by this is you have only 6 keywords that you can list. Okay, these keywords are like hashtags that you use in your maybe in your LinkedIn post, or maybe in your YouTube video. so that anyone who is searching for the relevant information or the relevant paper, they find it easily. Okay, so the keywords should be such words which are generally not there in the title. At the same time, they are very important, but they could not be. These are very important keywords that connect to the central theme of the entire paper, but at the same time, because of some reason, they could not be featured in the title. Okay, that you should list as the keyword. For example, in the previous example, if I have to give this previous example here, so you see in this previous example, an intelligent predictive model based multi-objective optimization of EDM process. So here the NSGA3 is a keyword here, but I couldn't, is a very important word here, but I didn't include it in the title because I didn't want it to overcomplicate the title. So I can use NSGA3 as the keyword. Okay, I can use the NSGA key as the keyword. At the same time, my paper is based on multi-objective optimization. It is not based on single objective optimization, but when I'm going to use my keyword, I'm also going to include this single objective optimization. Okay, so why I'm going to use the single objective optimization also in the keyword? Because whenever a particular person is searching for single objective optimization, so that this paper also shows to him, he may find this also relevant to him. Though it is on the multi-objective optimization, he may find this also as relevant. So I'm going to use this as one of the keywords. Another keyword that I'm going to use is machining. For example, here I have used the acronym EDM. Okay, so EDM is electro discharge machining. So instead of the entire word electro discharge machining, I am just going to include the machining word in the keyword. So then what will happen is that there are so many different types of machining techniques. Okay, so every time he searches for any machining, suppose say he writes that laser beam machining. Okay, so at that time also, since the word machining is matching, okay, my paper might show up in his search, and chances are that he will read my paper, and chances are that my paper will be cited. Okay, so the basic objective of the keywords is to make your entire manuscript easily searchable, so that people can easily search them. Okay, and the keywords should be very effective, as I told, and they should be specific to the field or the subfield, and they should be representation of the entire manuscript. And not necessarily that many people say that the keyword should be something that is included in your research paper multiple times. No, it need not be that. Maybe out of the 6 keywords, 4 keywords can be such that they are something that are from your manuscript itself, and 2 of the keywords may be something that are very closely related to your manuscript, but they do not find these keywords are not directly within your, or these particular words are not directly within your manuscript, but they are like very closely related to your particular paper. For example, if I again go back to this particular example, here I have given an intelligent predictive model based multi-response optimization. So here one of the keywords could be machine learning models or machine learning predictive models. Okay, that could be one keyword, because though in this particular paper we are not we have not used a conventional kind of machine learning. Okay, though we have used a different type of machine learning algorithm here. I have not used the generative programming type. So I have not used the more powerful machine learning algorithms here. But still, by using the keyword as machine learning, what I am doing is that anyone who is searching for machine learning based papers or machine learning based predictive model papers, they will also be able to see this, or they will be also able to search this particular paper. Okay, so it is kind of a precursor to to that particular term that I use, the machine learning predictive model that I used. Okay, so maybe that will also show up in this will also show up in their searches. Okay, so like this you can use the keywords very judiciously. Next comes the introduction. The introduction should be such that it provides the readers with the background information to understand the study, and it should give the reasons why you have conducted the entire study or the entire research. Okay, the introduction should answer the question that what question or what problem was studied, and while writing the background, or while writing in the introduction itself, generally we try to write the literature review as a part of the introduction itself. Okay, so whenever you are trying to write the literature review as a part of the introduction itself, you should be clear that when we are writing the background, you should make citations. Okay, citations to the other relevant literatures, and they should be well balanced. Okay, it means that if certain researchers have found negative results, as well as some of the results are something that is supporting your result. At the same time, there is certain references that is against your result. Both of them you should present in your introduction. And if there is any possible explanation that is already given in the literature, you should give that explanation also for the discrepancy in this kind of results. Okay, that also you should give in the introduction section. And next thing is that whenever you are trying to use citations, you should your citation should be very correct. Okay, so every field is different, that you have to understand, but you should always aim to cite references that are not more than 10 years old in possible. Okay, although be sure to cite the first discovery or mention the literature even if it is older than 10 years. Okay, this is something in a question answer session also I talked about. So whenever you are trying to write the introduction, always try to use the citations such that they are relevant and they are new to the field. Okay, you try to use relevant literature as well as new literature. Okay, for example, in the field of engineering where so many articles are published each year, so what you can do is that, or in the field of materials there is so much advancement each year, so there instead of this 10-year rule you may follow the 3-year rule. Okay, I generally follow the 3-year rule. So I generally follow the rule that at least 60 to 70% of my references in my paper is going to be from the last 3 years. That is what I try to do in my research papers. Okay, again, this 10-year rule is again a broad rule for all the domains, because there are certain domains like social sciences and humanities where the number of publications is relatively less than the basic sciences or the physics or the engineering background. The number of the publications is less, and that is why there you need to have a more broader kind of chronological search for getting your literatures. But in the field of engineering or the basic sciences, I believe that we should stick with the last 3 years if possible. Okay, and again, when we are citing some discovery that was originally made by someone, we should give tribute to the original paper by referring the original paper, and then maybe we can make some time jump to cite the next most popular paper, or then maybe some paper which is from the last 2 to 3 years. Okay, so now the next objective or the next idea behind writing the citation is that we should cite only relevant literature. Okay, we should not cite those kind of literature those we do not find relevant. Maybe your friend or a colleague has published a paper and you just want to increase his citation count, and that is why you have included that in your particular research paper. That is not acceptable. Okay, you should not do that. You should always include citations, or you should always include references that are relevant to your particular field. Okay, and next is that do not write a literature review in your introduction, but do cite the reviews where readers can find the information if they want to. Okay, so what I mean by this is, generally when you are trying to write the introduction, do not write it like a literature review. Literature review is something different. For example, when you write a literature review paper or a review paper, or for example when you are doing a entire master's thesis or a PhD thesis, there may be another chapter which may be only on the literature review or on the state of the art, where you describe, suppose say 50 to 60 or maybe even 100 or maybe even 200 papers from the literature, and you cite them saying that this person did that, this person that has done that. This should be avoided in the introduction part. Okay, when you are writing a proper research paper, I'm talking only about the research paper now. Okay, original research paper. When you are trying to write a original research paper or a research paper, you should keep the literature review to the minimum in the sense that it should not be more than say 6 to 10 articles, or the introduction should be such that it should introduce the problem. Okay, and at the same time it should say that why this problem is important, what other people have done to solve this problem, and then on that particular note you can give 6 to 10 different relevant literature. Okay, at the same time when you are giving the reference to the literature, try to critically assess them. Do not just say in the introduction that XYZ has done this, ABC has done that. Do not try to say that. Okay, try to say that XYZ has done this, he has used this and this method, he got this and this result, his results are directly in contrast or directly in sync with the results of ABC, and then you talk about ABC and so on. Okay, so like this you have to write the introduction. Okay, do not think of writing the entire literature review in a proper research article. Okay, though it is done in some cases, Okay, if suppose say you are trying to find out a new method, or if you are proposing a new method, in that case giving a literature review will be important, or giving a literature review will be giving a broad or a descriptive literature review will be something that will improve the quality of your paper. In that case you can do that, and in that case you may include a separate section after the introduction called the literature review section. Okay, next comes the materials and methods. I generally say that we should start with the materials and the methods section, and when you are trying to do this, use subheadings to separate the different methodologies. And you describe everything in the past tense, and describe new methods in enough detail so that any other researchers can reproduce your experiment, and establish the methods briefly and cite the proper references from where readers can get more details. And when you are using some statistical test or parameters, tell about them in description, so that in descriptive way tell about them, so that anyone else who is trying to replicate your result or who is trying to conduct a similar kind of study, he can also replicate your study. Okay, so the tip for this particular writing this particular session is that for this particular section is that check the introduction for the authors for your target journal, and see how the manuscripts should be presented in the materials and methods. Okay, every journal has some other kind of rules in which they will specify that like this you have to write the materials and the methods section. So if there is some specified rules, try to follow them. Okay, and if it is directly not mentioned in the introduction to authors, and even if it is not clear to you from the introduction to the instruction to the authors page, you can go to the previously published paper in that particular journal and read some of those papers to find out that what is the typical way to present the materials and methods in that particular journal. Okay, that is what you should do. Next comes the result section. So in the result section, use subheadings to separate the results of the different experiments, and present the results in a logical order, and use past tense to describe your results, and refer to the figures and tables in the present tense. Okay, you have to be very clear in this. When you are describing the results, it is something that you have already done. So go back, use the past tense, but when you are referring to the figures and the tables, use the present tense. Okay, and do not duplicate the same figures and tables in the again and again in the figures as well as in the tables. It is a common mistake to restate the same results in the table as well as in the figures, so do not do that. And include the statistical analysis in your text, usually describing by the p values and all that. Whatever you have used, you do that. Okay, and there the tip for this writing this particular section is that when you are writing the result section, generally we say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay, so try to give explanatory figure or self-explanatory figures, such that just by looking at the figures, a person can get the idea of what the particular results are. Okay, try to give those kind of figures. Next comes the results and the discussion and the conclusion. Generally, discussion can be a part of the results section also, and in some journals they want it to be the part of the conclusion, and in some papers, in most of the papers, they want it to be the part of the results section. Okay, so whenever you are discussing your conclusion, you should discuss from the most important to the least important, and you should compare your results. Especially I'm talking about the discussion section now, so it can again be a part of the conclusion section, or it can be a part of the results section. Okay, so whenever you are talking, when you are discussing the results, you should cite relevant studies where they have also found similar or contrasting results, and now you should give some explanation that why there is a sync, or why there is a, if there is a sync, then it is well. Okay, if there is a contrast in your results from the previously published results, then why there is a contrast, you should give some possible explanation for that. Okay, and if there is any inconclusive result, okay, then you should try to explain them as properly as you can. Okay, and in the conclusion section, when you are specifically writing the conclusion section, reiterate everything you have found in the entire manuscript. Again, when you are writing the conclusion section, start with a couple of sentences on the what you have done, why you have done, and what is the methodology that you have followed, and then devote only 2 to 3 lines for all these things, and then the majority of the conclusion section, or the 70% of the conclusion section, should be on the actual conclusions. That means whatever you have gathered knowledge from the entire study that you have done. And then in the final closing 2 lines of the entire manuscript, you should write about why these results are important and whom they are going to help, and what could be the future directions you can give to the other researchers. You can state in the final 2 lines of the conclusion. Okay, so when we are trying to write the figures and the tables, you should always follow these principles. You should design the tables very carefully to communicate the results. You should be very clear and concise, and you should give sufficient space between the rows and the columns. Generally, most of the journals, they do the formatting for you, so you need not worry about the tables as much, but you should be aware of the figures. So whenever you are giving figures, give all the axes properly, give all the arrow marks, all the headings properly, so that the figures do not miss out any information. At the same time, they are self-explanatory. Okay, and whenever till the time that a particular paper is not published, keep all the metadata, that is the image files or the software-based files that you have used to draw the particular figure. Keep them with you, so that during the review process, if they ask you for any of this metadata, or if they ask you for any changes, you can do them easily. Okay, so you need to keep them or store them. Again, the acknowledgement and the reference section. Acknowledgement usually is something that follows the results and the discussion. Acknowledge anyone who helped you intellectually or in any kind of technical help, you write it here. And the reference section, I've already talked about the reference section earlier also. That reference section needs to be very concise. It needs to be something that is relevant, and that is something recent. Okay, you need to use them. And you should never cite a publication based on what you have read in other publications. You should read the article first, and you should not quote a particular paper by reading a secondary source. Okay, read the original source, only then you quote the particular reference in your work. Okay? And for using the references, we are going to do another section on the references, how to use the references, and we'll try to learn this in the next session.